I believe there's a hero in all of us.
You have great powers, only some of which you have as yet discovered.
I'm a superhero,
a real-life superhero.
The world needs extraordinary. We will make you a superhero.
Are you ready to become a hero?
Initiating surprise in 3.
This
2
is
1.
The Real Brian Show.
Oh, we are back, and it is officially fall. Yes. This is the show that gives you a positive escape from all the crap around you. It's time to nerd out on the things that better our lives. We are still talking about our favorite movies from each decade. Maybe you will even discover some new movies to watch. Captain's Origin is back. Oh my gosh, we're just nerding out on so much today. I'm so excited.
Don't be that guy.
I am that guy.
Z, you gotta be more careful about who you meet in the Oasis.
H, Artemis gets me. She'll get my outfit. There's just this connection. I mean, sometimes we even...
Finish each other's sentences?
Yeah.
We have that. Me and you.
Yeah, I know. But that's because we're best friends, dude.
She could be a dude too, dude.
Come on.
I'm serious. She could actually be a 300-pound dude who lives in his mama's basement in suburban Detroit. And her name is Chuck.
Let's rock it. Welcome back to The Real Brian Show. My name is Chuck.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Brian. I'm Captain Influence. How do you know I'm a dude, by the way?
You a 300-pound dude in your mama's basement?
I don't know if I'm quite 300 pounds, and I don't live in my mama's basement, but you never know, right?
Oh, I love that quote, dude. That was so funny and so true. Oh, my gosh. You know, you play these games, and I can't remember what the game was, but... Oh, yeah, no, it's WoW when we're playing World of Warcraft, and I was saying, there are a lot of female blood elves, and you're like, yeah, and they're all dudes.
Of course. Who doesn't like to run behind a blood elf chick while you're fighting? I mean, come on.
Yeah, the male blood elves are just not my cup of tea.
Well, they look like jerks. They honestly do.
Yeah, they do.
They just look like jerks.
Like douches. Like Bram from Guild Wars 2. Yes. For those of you who play Guild Wars 2, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, for those like 3 of you listening.
Yeah, the rest are like Guild Wars? What?
Move on. Move on.
Don't worry about it. It's an old game. Hey, guess what, dude? I am drinking something new today.
Ooh. Oh, wait, hang on.
Yeah?
Is it pumpkin spice something?
Well, no, I'm not currently drinking that, but we do need to talk about that in a minute because it is officially fall now. But no, it's a chai from Happy Lucky's Tea, and it's red, the rooibos, however you pronounce it. Apparently, I'm getting it all wrong. Rooibos is not right, so whatever. We need to talk to somebody down in that part of the world that actually grows the stuff and tell me what's in your native tongue. We'll know what it is, but it's a chai with the rooibos tea, and it smells absolutely glorious. But you know what? It's cool today. 60s here, you know, and it's been in the 90s or at least the high 80s. And so you get into the 60s and you're like, wow, okay, it feels like fall. It now officially is fall, although it's supposed to warm back up. But dude, okay, let me ask you this. Are you ready for fall personally?
Yes, okay. Absolutely.
See, and fall is my absolute favorite season. I mean, you get fall through Christmas. That's like my happy time. I love it. But I really loved the summer. Because it's warm and I can get out and bike without freezing to death. I can wear shorts. I mean, I don't like wearing clothes, man. So like anytime that I have to put on like pants and layers and jackets, I feel like somebody's trying to suffocate me. I get claustrophobic, man. No clothes. Come on. That's the warmth for you.
The spring and the fall are when you can open your windows and turn the air conditioning off or the heater, as the case may be.
Yeah.
And you know, let the fresh air in, listen to the crickets at night, you know, stuff like that. So
let the sunshine in.
For a little while, at least.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But fall is so beautiful, too. And so you brought up the pumpkin spice. Is it time for pumpkin spice drinks? What do you think?
You know, I think that September 21st, you know, around that time is the time that the most appropriate time to bring that back, in my opinion.
Okay. So
anything before that is just a little gratuitous, in my opinion.
The mid-August, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just silly.
All right, so I broke the rule. And okay, so now we had a conversation off mic about, is the official first day of fall September 21st or September 22nd? We have learned in school that the equinox is on the 21st, meaning that's the first day of fall. Now it's on the calendars, it's the 22nd, whatever. Okay, that doesn't matter. Go with either one. It's kind of like which day were you born on kind of thing. Both days, whatever. So Monday, we broke the rules because we were out biking. And actually, I got to bike to a couple appointments, which was very, very nice. And it was really windy, and it was, I think, 68 degrees, but it felt like 55 or something because of just hurricane force winds here, typical Colorado winds, and literally blowing my bike sideways to the point where I was having a hard time keeping it upright. That's how hard it was. Blowing. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I don't like that.
I got really cold. Finally, I'm like, Sarah came and met me, we were riding around. I'm like, I'm sorry. I got to break through. I got to get something hot right now. And I just want a freaking pumpkin spice because it's freaking cold out. So we did. We got it on Monday. But here's the kicker.
Sweet.
Let me just tell you this, though. I did something a little different this year. Usually, I would order a pumpkin spice latte, full sweetness with whole milk. I decided, let's do half sweet with oat milk because, milk is good. I love milk, but oat milk can add a creaminess to it that regular milk doesn't. If you have Oatly milk, by the way. Oatly is in my opinion, the best brand. It tastes amazing.
Okay.
No sponsorship. Sadly, I need to get them on my bankroll here. So that
Oatly milk. Yeah, when you're in the mood for milky oats.
For something creamy, baby. Yeah. All right. So first of all, the oat milk was amazing. Second of all, half sweet, dude. It was still a little too sweet for me, but it was so much better because they just put so much sugar in there at Starbucks. Oh my gosh.
They
Starbucks. Just pump. Let's just dump the whole dang bottle of syrup. Wow. So anyway, I got to tell you, man, it was so refreshing and so good. I feel like a cheater because I did it a day early or 2 days early.
Hey, you know what? Whatever works. I don't think there's anything wrong with people getting pumpkin spice early. It just seems gratuitous to me to do it before fall. That's all.
Well, I get it. August 15th, that's ridiculous.
It cheapens it. The earlier you go, the more gratuitous is the best word I can think of.
Yeah, it is.
It makes it like, oh, pumpkin spice, yip-de-doo. What are we getting that now in July?
Exactly.
So yeah, it just makes more sense now.
By the way, for the coffee shops that say, hey, forget fall, we have pumpkin spice all year round. And they're all they're touting that. Let me just say that from a marketing standpoint, absolute fail. Because people want scarcity. They want the demand. It's fall. Yeah. When do I get my pumpkin spice drink? I can't wait. Create that demand, create that scarcity so that when fall comes, now you have it. And by the way, your coffee shop's going to do a lot better. And then take it away at the end of the fall season. Just trust me, it works.
It's just like McRib at McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
It comes around once or twice a year or something like that. By the way, I haven't had a McRib since I was in high school, but I do still peripherally know that they come around once or twice a year.
Yeah.
And it's a seasonal thing with that restaurant. Or, sorry, that eatery, whatever you want to call McDonald's.
Yeah. Eatery.
Same thing.
Bash food.
So
yeah. You know what else comes around once a year?
Wait, I could come up with a snarky remark if you pause it and let me think for a few seconds.
I'm going to call it the firecracker unicorn. I'm sorry. He only comes around once a year, but that's okay. We're talking about fall right now, man. It's fall. The fall leaf colors in the mountains have changed.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely beautiful. Some of our locusts here, they start changing mid-September, so they've started, but the rest of the trees are still, a beautiful green. It's warmer, or it's warming up this weekend.
Trees, by the way, not locust cicadas, which a lot of people call cicadas locusts. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I call them cicadas because they,
that's the appropriate name. But go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. We had them. Okay. Well, anyway, no. How about you? Go ahead, dude. How about you, man? What's going on with you? Well, I mean, I know what's going on, but why don't you, enlighten the rest of us?
So, early this week, we had to say goodbye to our little girl, Jadis, our cat. It was really rough. Monday of this week was really rough. We've had to do that 3 times since we've been married, and she was our last cat. So and she lived to be 19. So she was really old, and she was really rickety. And in the last week of her life, she was suffering quite a bit.
Yeah.
So we had to say goodbye to her on Monday, and the stress of that event made me really ill that night after I went to bed. I was fine. Physically, I was fine until I lay down in bed, and then suddenly I was really nauseous.
Yeah.
I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick. So I went and got my relief band, which I mentioned several weeks ago that I bought in anticipation of getting into the VR gaming thing, which I haven't done yet. But I've had this relief band sitting around that I haven't used. And I tried it for the first time that night. And let me tell you, folks, that thing works.
Oh, wow.
You just strap it to your you have to charge it with like a USB port, and then you strap it to your wrist, and it sends these little triplet zips of electricity into your wrist, like like that. I had it partially charged, and it lasted all night long. It was still going in the morning, and let me tell you, as soon as I put that on and turned it on, within seconds, I wasn't sick anymore.
Wow,
that is crazy.
Yeah,
just shocking your wrist keeps you from feeling sick to your stomach.
And you're not taking some kind of a pharmaceutical or drug that, supposedly does its trick too. And it's not making you drowsy either, right?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I was already drowsy because I was exhausted, but I was just, I'd heard it works, and I've read that it's supposed to work for most people. Luckily, I'm one of the people it works for. I was just blown away that simple thing killed my nausea instantly. So it was really weird. So that was nice. I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we had a rough week. We're getting, we're trying to adjust to an empty house now.
Yeah.
And so we're starting to look to the future. What do we want for another pet? When do we want to get one? That kind of thing. So,
Delta 2 months ago, and now Jadis, and I found out, I don't know if you knew this, but our friend Captain Hammerpants, which we've mentioned on the show,
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a listener, by the way. What's up, Ed?
Hello. And he just met, and in fact, I don't remember hearing about this, so I must have missed it, but they had to say goodbye to their cat 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And it's just like, man, that's just so much. And it is hard though. I mean, I think if you've never owned a pet, or if you've never had to say goodbye to a pet, then you really don't know. But for those who have, I mean, you get it. I mean, it's just, it's painful. It's difficult. It takes time. And when you told me before we even got on the show that you were having a bunch of nausea and gotten sick and that kind of thing too, I was just like, that's not surprising, because we were kind of in the same boat. The grief really takes a toll, man. And it is stressful.
It's just amazing how it affects you physically, especially when you're older. Like I'm not that old, but still, I was surprised at how it hit me physically after the emotion had started to ebb.
Yeah.
And, and by the way, I want to mention, Brian, you and Miss Light, you guys sent me this wonderful bouquet of flowers, and we could not have been more thankful for that. So I just wanted to tell you again on the show, thank you for that. That was amazing.
Of course, man.
You taught me something, because I didn't send you flowers when Delta died. It never occurred to me to do that.
But you were very supportive, though.
I was, but at the same time, so it's not like I feel like you one-up me. I'm just saying that you taught me that that's something that I could consider in the future for that same situation in someone else. So so thank you for that as well.
Of course. All right, man.
Ready to rock.
Well, here's what I'm ready to rock. Actually, 3 things. I've been nerding out on 3 things right now. First of all, we're back in person for volleyball. I'm not going to lie, was a little nervous about, because at least here in Colorado, we have had some of the highest cases of Delta. Some people are going to say, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh my gosh, you're blowing it out of proportion. My response is, tell that to those that have died.
Right.
And we've known people who have departed the earth because of COVID. So, and also who have been like extremely ill and are now facing possibly permanent lifetime injuries and or side effects. So,
and those of you who work at a hospital just know better.
See it.
You just know better. Yeah,
I know. And I've heard numerous stories from the nurses and doctors that are on the front lines, and they're just like, why don't people see this? Well, because they're not there. That's the problem.
Well, and because they don't want to believe it. That's really the core of it, honestly.
And that I can understand. We take it seriously. We're not going to be stupid and careless about it. We're not going to be foolish. With that all being said, we did have a concern for the volleyball games, and others are kind of like, oh, it's no big deal. Just go. Okay, well, first of all, I'm glad that they mandated the masks indoors. Why not? It's their property. They can do whatever they want. It's their team. They got to keep their teams and players safe. I think that's a really good decision. Everybody's been cool. We don't have a whole lot of people right around us. We're second row, which is awesome. And so we feel fine. We feel safe. And it's just so nice to be back. I mean, honestly, like being back in person makes it feel so normal again, which is great. And watching the games and having the excitement of the, the atmosphere and everything. It's just so nice. I'm really pumped about that. So that's been good. The other thing that I'm totally nerding out on, which I think was interesting, is the Nintendo Switch. We pulled it out again, played some Mario Kart. It didn't get a lot of use over COVID, because really, to me, that's a party device. You can play Breath of the Wild or some of those single player games, but for me, it's like, the Nintendo consoles are like, let's get people together and play in person, couch kind of stuff. Okay. So we were able to finally get together, with some friends. We played Mario Kart again. I was like, man, I love that game. I keep forgetting how much I love that game, and it's so much fun. But then I was like, do you remember some of those old NES classics, Sega classics, original PlayStation, some of the original Atari even, there are ways to be able to play these on the PC or on the Nintendo Switch or even the Wii, actually. The Wii was easy to do that with. So I've been nerding out on that actually with Lord Thunder because, he's been trying to figure that out too. So it's just like, let's figure out how to play some of these old games. There's ways, to make it work so you can play on your computer. It's really cool, but it's just so fun. Like, oh man, you remember Super Mario Brothers and Contra and oh my gosh.
Castlevania, Legend of Zelda. I mean, there's so many good. Kid Icarus,
Jedi Power Battles on the PlayStation 1. I mean, oh my gosh, so many fun games. It's been fun. So totally nerding out on that. The other thing that I've been kind of nerding out on, and I'm not doing anything with this yet. I'm all in the research stage because I'm a huge fan of Pat Flynn. I have been ever since I got into the podcasting thing, way back. And I've been following him on and off. And then randomly I saw early this year, he started a Pokemon channel. And I was kind of like, I knew Pat was a nerdy guy, but I was just like, why? I knew I knew he used to play Magic back when he was a kid and stuff. But why did he start a Pokemon channel? So I started watching this. I was trying to get ideas for videos and stuff anyway, but I was just kind of like, why did you do this, Pat? Well, he plays with his kids, which is cool, but also he's doing it to invest. And I thought, wait, invest? Tell me more. So I'm learning about how people are, this is not new, they've been doing this for years now, but how it's becoming more profitable to invest in card collectibles, Pokemon, Magic cards, whatever, right?
But not like baseball or sports cards, right?
It's on par with that, yes.
Okay.
Which is what surprised me. And what I'm finding is that as of right now, as of the time we're recording this, the return on Pokemon cards is significantly higher than any other investment right now. It blew me away. 417% returns right now on average.
Weird.
And I was like, and real estate is like 42%.
Bubble. I don't know.
Well, it is possible it is. And I think, so there's two things I'm looking at. Is one of the Pokemon cards, which was a first edition rare Charizard, sold for $225,000 like a couple weeks ago. And I thought
the amount of spending money that some people have it just boggles my mind.
Yeah.
You would spend $250,000 on a piece of paper that has a printed character on it because of its rarity.
I know. Well, if you look at our money, it's pieces of paper too. I mean, it's just, it's amazing like what the kind of value we put on things and whatever, it is, right? More power, but
it is amazing.
I look at this and I just go, okay, yes, it's probably a bit of a bubble, but what I'm researching is that it's probably a bit of a bubble for about 5 or so years.
Okay.
But it's still a long-term investment because what people are saying is okay, so first of all, you look at Magic and Pokemon originally came out in the 90s. So kids that got into Magic and Pokemon in the 90s or even the early 2000s, well, they're all grown up, they have money, and they want the nostalgia of their childhood, and they go, I never got that card. I want to buy that.
Okay.
And so people are putting value on that stuff, and now it's an investment thing. I mean, there's some pretty intelligent investors out there saying this is not a bad decision. This is actually a really good way to diversify if you're looking to invest. But you got to know your market. You got to know what's going on. So I just thought, okay, interesting. And some of these guys, they're taking unopened boxes. So they'll buy a box that currently comes out, they're selling for whatever, $130, $140 for a box. They leave it sealed 5 or so years, maybe 3 to 5 years, they're worth $500. And so these guys are buying 400 or so boxes, which is like, $50 something thousand, right? Which is a lot of money. And okay, now they're worth $200,000 for that investment. That's a pretty decent return right there for 3 to 5 years. So it's interesting.
3 to 5 years from now, that is still, I mean, they are taking a gamble like any investment, right? I mean, there is that gamble that they're throwing the dice. So,
well, I think what's happening though is it depends on print runs. How long do they print those cards? How many cards were printed? Do they reprint some of those cards in a future set or not? And then so then it comes down to demand. When people go, that was a really good set, it had a lot of great cards in it, you can't get your hands on it anymore. Well, now I'm going to pay a higher price because the demand's gone, right? Or I mean, the demand's high and the supply's low. So that's one thing. Or the other thing is that, well, I guess this was surprising, is that there were about 42 million people across the world still playing Magic the Gathering right now. And I think it was closer to 200 million for Pokemon and still growing. They said Pokemon is one of the fastest growing games right now.
Weird.
In the world. That new players, that is. So it's just like, okay, well, is this a bubble? Maybe not, because there's just so much more people coming in and there's more demand.
I'm editorializing right here briefly, but personally, I get Magic because there's some, it's kind of a cerebral card game, right? You know, it's not, it doesn't have the same cheese value that Pokemon does. Guys, Pokemon is a cheesy, inarguably, doesn't matter how you look at it, Pokemon is cheesy. It has a hardcore cheese factor to it.
But it's That's lot of Japanese style.
It is, but there's other Japanese styles. I like a lot of anime and stuff. It depends. There's lots of different styles, right? Pokemon's one of those styles.
But you got to remember, I mean, I hear you, but you got to remember too, though, is that the game strategy, the card mechanics that they talk about, it's pretty equal between Pokemon and Magic. In fact, at one point I was trying to explain Magic to one of my friends, his kid, who is, now at the age to be able to play Magic. And he says, oh, that's just like Pokemon, except it's this and this and this. And I thought, it's exactly the same style game, just with some differences and, the different art and that kind of thing. Yeah. But there's a lot of the similar stuff. Yeah.
Okay, I hear you. It's the same mechanics as Magic, just like Yu-Gi-Oh! And all that stuff. But it's just got that added cheese factor to its content.
Some would disagree with you, man. Oh my gosh!
No, there's no arguing it's cheesy. That's just how it is. Pokemon has, Ash Ketchum and all that. I mean, and Pikachu and all that stuff. Yeah. I know this peripherally through my brothers because I was in college during the Pokemon phase in the 90s.
Yeah.
But I know some of it peripherally, and that stuff is just simply cheesy. Yeah. Now you may like that cheese. That's your prerogative. But the cheese factor is why I just don't understand why it's so crazy right now.
But
that's
like
all.
Pat, for example, and this is the last thing I'll say in this, is he just nerds out on the glorious and beautiful artwork. Like he finds the artwork of Pokemon to be just phenomenal.
Interesting, because Magic the Gathering has some fantastic artwork.
It really does.
But I've never seen that in Pokemon. But again, I don't look at it very much. So.
Well, yeah, and granted, the cards he's showing, I'm like, okay, that is fantastic artwork. It's beautiful colors. I mean, it really is actually a work of art. But I would agree with you that Magic the Gathering has some phenomenal art that does not get the same attention.
Right.
And it should, because in fact, there are some cards that I pulled that I was just like, oh my gosh, I love this art. It is so amazing. I wish I could get a poster of this. It's so nice.
Right. And you probably could.
Yeah. So speaking of videos really quickly, I have a question for you, Captain, but also all of us. If you're listening, which of course you are. I hate that. If you're listening, well, duh.
Obviously.
And now I'm saying it because I hear it too much. Of course you're listening. Oh my gosh, stop saying that. Okay, so for all of us, I'm going to answer this question too, but do you like, these are two options here, when it comes to videos, thinking about YouTube or whatever, do you like kind of that raw, unedited type format where, someone's just talking and it's just a very free-form, raw, unedited format, not necessarily long. Let's just even go with a relatively short video. Maybe they're even recording on their iPhone with the iPhone microphone. Do you like that style? Or do you prefer the highly produced, super professional, extremely well edited, like really edited too, by the way, super short, punchy, to the point videos with all these, the B-roll, so like where you see me talking, but then if I'm talking about Pokemon, it's showing this Pokemon card floating through, and it's the music and the sound effects. And I mean, just highly, highly, highly produced. Which one do you prefer? Captain, I would love for you to answer. And then, of course, I would love feedback, by the way, but go ahead, Captain.
I always prefer the edited version of any video format on YouTube, especially just because it feels more polished. Now, for our show, that doesn't make as much sense at all, but in general, that's my preference.
Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting because I find myself drawn to those highly produced, like the Pat Flynn one for his, it's called Deep Pocket Monster is the name of his Pokemon channel. And I mean, it is beautifully done. His editing, whoever his producer is, like I really want the name because it's just like, dang, it's so well done. I love them. I'm drawn into them. I mean, it's like eye candy. My attention is consistently kept the entire time. I started thinking about that, okay, well, should I do that for the Real Brian Show? Should I do that for Stuff Nerds Need that I'm going to be doing here shortly, the new channel? And I literally had a panic attack. Literally. Because the amount of editing and time that goes into that, first of all, I don't know how to do all of that. And second of all, I know that is probably going to take me at least 100 or so hours per 7 minutes of actual video footage.
Wow.
And I just kind of I literally had a panic attack and I just thought there's no way that I could do this. Or if I wanted to pay somebody to do it, it'd probably like bankrupt me. So,
well, then you probably shouldn't ask the question then.
Well, no, but my question was though, because then the reason I'm asking this is because that's what I felt I should do. And then I'm watching all of these other guys that do similar types of videos and they're recording literally on their iPhone. It's not edited. They have 300,000 fans and whatever subscribers and they get tons of viewers and you just kind of go, okay, does anyone really care about that? That's my question. And that's why I'm asking.
Depends on the content.
I think short either way, like you're saying, let's just say a video. Now for this show, of course, it's long form. That's the intention of the show. But if I were to do the whole Stuff Nerds Need, we're talking between 7 and 15 minutes max. Maybe not even probably more like 7 to 10 minutes. And either way, whether it's me talking into my iPhone and I don't edit it, or it's like massively produced, I'm just curious to know what people prefer, or do they even notice it, or do they even care as long as the content is good? I think that's my question. So please give me your feedback on this because I just want to know.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer. There's no right answer. It's just, what do you prefer? What is your preference? Right. All right, dude, we have an origin finally. It's been a little while since we've had one. So give it to us.
Yeah. Dude, so again, this is thanks to the Mark the Wraith. This was in his list of origins. Great list, by the way. Half of them I'd already done. Some of them I had not. And this is one that I liked. Heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Heard it through the grapevine.
Yeah, and the California Raisins version was the best version of that.
There you go. So, and it's a Marvin Gaye song. So, I
love Marvin Gaye.
So from Wikipedia, to hear something through the grapevine or on the grapevine is to learn about something via an informal source or hearsay from another person, and it may refer to an overheard conversation or anonymous sources of information. Okay. So we all know that. So that's just the basic definition. Two explanations for where this came from. Number one is that the phrase is based on the appearance of thousands of kilometers of telegraph wire that were installed across the United States during the 19th century. Strung together by telegraph poles, which represented the strings used to train grapevines.
Oh.
Rumors were frequently spread using the telegraph system during the American Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
In his autobiography, Up From Slavery by Booker T. Washington, he says that slaves in the South kept up to date on current events by, quote, what was termed the grapevine telegraph, unquote.
Okay.
He said that, or explained that often the slaves got knowledge of the results of great battles before the white people received it. This news was usually received from the slave who was sent to the post office for the mail. The man would linger around the place long enough to get the drift of the conversation from the group of white people who naturally congregated there after receiving their mail to discuss the latest news. And then the slave mail carrier on his way back to his master's house would just as naturally retell the news to the other slaves. And in this way, they often heard of important events before the masters at the big house would hear it. So,
okay.
So that's the first explanation, and that makes total sense. I heard it through the grapevine as an Americanism. It seems to have originated during that period, and that makes sense. However, the New York Public Library contends that the phrase derives from the infamous Grapevine Tavern in New York City's Greenwich Village. During the Civil War, it was a popular hangout for Union officers and Confederate spies. It was the ideal place to get news and information, or in the case of spies and politicians, the ideal place to spread rumors and gossip, leading to the popular phrase, quote, heard it through the grapevine, unquote. So to me, that's equally as plausible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one is very specific to a location, and the other one is just more general based on the technology of the time. So who knows that I don't know which one is accurate. I could pick either one. Honestly, I don't even have an opinion. So
my opinion is the first one sounds more plausible. And maybe the second one was but we also did this kind of thing too.
It might be.
Yeah, but I mean, who knows? Yeah. But that either way, I would say that I would vote for the first one. It just makes more sense.
I'm more inclined to vote for the first one also because it's more widespread.
Yeah.
More of a widespread explanation. So
it just also makes a lot of sense, and there's a lot of detail to it, which also how do you make that up kind of thing.
Right. So there you go.
Cool, man. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. That is a good history lesson right there.
Yes, it was. I liked it.
So we're going through movies now, of course, as we've talked about. We did the musical journey. Now we're doing our movie journey. Top movies that our top movies, not saying the top movies. This is our opinion from each decade. We have reached 2010 to 2019. And I got to tell you, this was probably one of the hardest ones. And I think it will be because as we go further in time, more and more and more and more movies are getting made, and there's so much more to choose from. I mean, you think back to the 80s and the 90s, and there were blockbuster hits. You get into the 2000s, you start to see some of those other ones that are starting to make waves. You get from 2010 to 2019, and there are so many movies. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies that I was looking through saying, I loved every one of them. This is ridiculous. So, of course, this list is going to be absolutely massive, and I guarantee it's going to be the longest one. Now, the next decade will probably be pretty long too, but I know that it gets shorter because I was even previewing what my list was, and it just gets shorter and shorter as we go on. So, this is a longer one. Bear with us. Maybe these will give you some thoughts like, oh, I never saw that movie. I should go see that. So, take some notes, but we'd love to hear your thoughts too. But I'm serious. Yeah, take some notes, man.
No, you better not be serious. They're not going to take notes.
This is a test, man. So we're gonna quiz you on which movie is the best movie from 2010 to 2019. And Captain, you get to tell us first.
All right. Well, so as I was going through Wikipedia for all the movies released in the U.S. during each year. By the way, Wikipedia is a fantastic source. They go month to month and year to year for month to month and week to week for every year in movie history of what was released when. It's really cool. So I was going through from 2010 to 2019. It only took me like an hour to go through every single year, the whole list of movies from start to finish. And I wrote down each one that I actually have seen. And then I pared my list down from that.
Okay.
So I was amused to see that 90% of the movies were sci-fi or fantasy films, but I was not at all surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's me.
Yeah.
But of my top 5, 3 of them were MCU films.
Not surprised either.
In that decade especially.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with, I just have top 5. My number 5, not an MCU movie, but such a good movie, Kick-Ass.
This 1 and 2, man. Both of them are so good.
Yeah, especially 1, though. This film surprised me in how much fun it was and how well made it was. There were parts in it that still get me double over laughing.
Oh, yeah.
It's just... yeah, just Nicolas Cage was so amazing in that movie.
I love when he shoots his daughter. He's like, this is only going to hurt. It's going to feel like a punch, girl. Here you go, baby doll. Boom. It was so funny.
Oh, and the daughter is amazing too. So that's my number 5.
Grace Moretz did such a great job, dude. Oh my gosh.
What a name.
Yeah.
Number 4, Inception. Come on. Yeah.
My gosh. Yeah.
My number 4 is on a lot of people's number 1. The premise of this film combined with the amazing acting, directing, cinematography, and score made this one an incredible experience. Just anyone who hasn't gone to see Inception yet or seen it, not gone to see it, but and seen it should do so.
Yes.
It's so worth it.
Highly recommended.
And it's very rewatchable too. Number 3, now we're getting to the MCU. Number 3, Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
What a strong finish to the MCU series. That's all I really have to say about it. Number 2, Avengers Infinity War, just before Endgame. Yet again, an awesome job by the filmmakers. Just a good all-around action superhero movie.
Mm-hmm.
And number 1, my number 1 movie of the decade was The Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
This movie definitely gave me the most excitement of any other film in this decade. I was just gushing with praise afterwards. You might remember that. I think you and I and several of our friends saw The Avengers together, and afterwards I was just smiling.
I didn't know you back then.
Oh, for the event. Then what did we see? Oh, I'm sorry. This just derailed me, Brian.
No, it's okay. No, because that was 2012 and I hadn't met you yet.
Oh, okay. Then never mind. I'm thinking of a different Avengers
It's okay,
movie.
though. No. Keep going, though.
I might be thinking of Infinity War that we saw together that I thought was so awesome. Anyway,
yes.
But Avengers made me even more giddy than Infinity War. I was just gushing with praise afterwards. I probably rewatched it a dozen times, and just an extremely well done job by Joss Whedon and crew.
Mm-hmm.
So for honorable mentions, I'm just going to go through these really fast. Interstellar, on top of my honorable mention list. I love that movie. Pacific Rim. The Pacific Rim is one of those movies that doesn't get as much credit as it deserves, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Man of Steel, which is probably my favorite DCU movie. Oblivion, which is my favorite Tom Cruise sci-fi movie.
So good.
Mad Max Fury Road, seen it many times. Yeah. Straight Outta Compton doesn't go along with the rest of these films, but Straight Outta Compton was a really good film about the rise of hip hop. Mm-hmm. The Martian.
Oh yeah.
Good movie, way better book. Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah.
Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah.
John Carter, which was amazingly fun. If you haven't seen John Carter, I was surprised at how good that was.
It's very good.
It was Europa Report, which was it's an obscure Netflix film that came out several years ago.
I never did see it, but I know about it.
I've seen it a few times. It's really good. Deadpool 1, Doctor Strange, Rogue One.
Oh yeah.
Edge of Tomorrow, which is another great Tom Cruise sci-fi, which was released in Europe, called Live, Die, Repeat.
Yeah.
X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, which is probably the best in the series.
Yep.
Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah.
And A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Yep.
Both of those about Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then the last thing on my honorable mention list I want to mention is Centurion, which is a not very well-known movie about ancient Rome in Britannia.
Cool.
But it's really good. I've seen it like 2 or 3 times. So yeah, so that's my list.
Nice, dude.
Take it away.
I have a lot of these on my list, by the way.
Yeah,
so I'll blast through some of those as well. What's interesting is that the Avengers, for me, and here's the problem, is that I was late to the game being able to go see the movie. And so all of my friends at the time saw it and said it was the best movie they had ever seen. It was kind of like when I saw The Matrix for the first time, how that changed it changed movies for me.
Okay.
To me, the Matrix was one of the most revolutionary movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's kind of how people were saying the Avengers was to them.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So when I went to see it, my expectations were through the roof. I was expecting the greatest thing that has ever happened to my life. And so when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay, well, this is good, but I'm disappointed. And that's why, though, because everybody was raving. If I had gone in with no expectations, I think I would have absolutely loved it like you did. But it didn't make my top 10 because of that.
Okay.
Which is too bad. So that's
good explanation.
These are my top 10 for sure, but these are not necessarily in any kind of order. I'm just telling you that right now. So I'm just going to go through them. 1, Ready Player One. Dude, I loved the book. The book was so awesome. Will Wheaton's reading of it was so good. And I also loved the movie. I know that it was different than the book a little bit. And of course it wasn't as good as the book because it wasn't as long as the book, of course. But to me, it was a perfect companion to the book. It wasn't trying to be the book in a crappy way. It was trying to do something slightly different to create a companion. And it was wonderful. I loved it. It was a magical adventure. I watched this movie over and over. And also just the concept behind the whole story is just so amazing. I did a combo of Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame because to me they were kind of together. Yeah. And same with you, man. What an incredible finale to the journey. Since I first watched Iron Man back in 2008, and I saw it right away when it came out, it was like this, what was it? 11-year journey? Yeah, because it was 2019. The 11-year journey had come to an end, and I was just like, wow, wow. So amazing. All right, number 3, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and combined with Won't You Be My Neighbor because, saw them not together, but within a few months of each other. And I actually saw the documentary first. And to me, the documentary was just so much better. It was so good. It was the best documentary. Yes. Well, maybe not the best. One of the best I've ever seen. But yes, the movie with Tom Hanks was so good, and he did such an amazing job. And it really showcased how incredible Fred Rogers was. And how the world is lacking because of not having him in it right now. So just
or someone else like him that is as popular as he was. Yeah.
If you've never seen any of those, either one of those, I can't recommend them enough. You got to watch them. They're so good.
For sure.
Now, my favorite DCU movie was Shazam. I loved it. Like everything about Shazam, I was so excited about. I love the character. I've read some of the comics from Shazam. And I mean, just watching that movie, I was just like, this is the combination of everything that I love in a movie. Humor, positivity, fun, action, even some good emotion. It just was a great movie for me. Can't wait for the second one, which is coming out here soon. But it is funny that, you picked Man of Steel and I picked Shazam. And of course, then we both loved the new Zack Snyder.
Right.
But man, this was, anyway. Oh, The Equalizer, dude. Denzel Washington. Now, I know this was a remake, but the Denzel Washington version was freaking amazing. Just absolutely amazing. The new, TV show version with Queen Latifah, it was fun, but she's not Denzel. I mean, Denzel embodied that character so perfectly. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And also going along with Denzel was one of my actually favorite movies, period, is The Book of Eli. Did you ever see that?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Oh
yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the story behind it was just really, really neat. It was a cool journey. Everything about it was cool. Apparently, I was reading a little more about that, and he not only really kind of got into the character to the point where he was almost living it, in real life, but he said he believed in what the character was doing and in the mission and the journey of the character as well. Denzel said that.
Oh, interesting.
So it was just so well done. And, Mila Kunis was amazing in it as well. It was just such a great movie. And I haven't seen it in a long time, but I'm just like, oh my gosh.
That was post-apocalyptic too. So it's it's automatically on my happy list. So,
but
I didn't have it on my list.
Well, what's funny is I don't really like a lot of post-apocalyptic movies. And this one I loved.
Cool.
Yeah, it was great. All right. Edge of Tomorrow made my top 10. So good. I mean, wow. I love that movie. You know what I forgot about is that Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows was that decade too, 2010, 2011.
I didn't forget. It just didn't quite make my list. I love the Harry Potter movies. The movies were fantastic. They really were good. And the books, of course, are unapproachable. But it didn't make my list.
X-Men Days of Future Past. I agree. To me, this is my favorite of all the X-Men movies. I loved it. It was so good.
Yeah.
And then Rogue One is my number 10, which, of course, my favorite of the new Star Wars films. And plus, this is the most important thing, we all got the Vader we deserved. Finally.
That's right.
All right. A couple of, I'll go through these quickly. Honorable mentions. Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets, dude.
I missed Valerian, totally.
And a lot of people hated on that movie, and I loved that movie. It was so good.
Valerian. Yeah. How did I miss that on my honorable mentions? I'm glad you brought it up. Go ahead.
No problem, dude. And again, these are not in any particular order, but I loved them. Alita Battle Angel. I loved that movie.
I knew about that one, but I forgot to put that in my. I was pairing my honorable mentions down, and I think Alita got paired out. So
I paired so many out, it was ridiculous, but I had to at least mention these. Ford v Ferrari, just like you. I had to mention Happy Death Day 1 and 2 because I came across those movies just a few years ago, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And I started watching them. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, these are so good!" So yeah, they're in my honorable mentions. They're great. The two new Jumanji movies as well were absolutely fantastic. Knives Out, dude, what a great murder mystery. Of course, A Quiet Place. And then I wrote this, pretty much most of the Marvel movies in the decade. I just didn't list them all out.
Throw them all in there. That's a good idea.
Christopher Robin, fantastic. Ewan McGregor was in it. Deadpool 2 I liked better than Deadpool 1, personally.
Oh, okay.
So I liked that one. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Also just fun.
Yep.
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, dude. That was such an amazing little animated feature that they did. They've got a second one coming out, and it was so surprising how good it was. So highly recommended for that one. I loved The Greatest Showman. I just thought it was a really nice movie.
Hated the opening track. That's all I can say.
I know. Split was amazing. Oh my gosh. Wonder Woman I put in there. The Accountant was an amazing movie with Ben Affleck. Hidden Figures, holy cow. I mean, I can't say enough good things about that story.
Oh yeah, Hidden Figures should have been on my honorable mentions. That was I was blown away about the story of that. Yeah, honestly,
so good.
I had no idea.
Now You See Me 1 and 2, also amazing movies about magic and heisting. It's kind of like a combo between like Ocean's 11 and like Penn and Teller or something. It was really good. Passengers, dude, that movie surprised me.
Oh, dude, God, there's so many. I went through all these films and I missed Passengers in the list.
That's what I'm saying is like there are so many ridiculously good movies from that last decade.
I loved Passengers.
Yeah.
Totally.
Risen.
I've seen like 3 times.
Risen was such a good movie. Oh my gosh, like really, really good. Furious. Now, okay, I know you're not a big fan of the Fast and Furious movies, but To me, Fast 5 and Furious 7 were both phenomenal. Furious 7 is when they said goodbye to Paul Walker after he had died in real life.
Oh, okay.
And they did such a good job with that. Jurassic World I liked. It was not on my top area, but it was like cool to see that the franchise was back.
Yeah.
Of course, I had Mad Max Fury Road. I actually saw that for the first time when you were visiting a few years back.
Oh, yeah.
And we sat and watched it, and I was just like, oh, man, why didn't I see this sooner? This was awesome. Of course, The Martian. I put in Pixels, dude. This is a cheesy Adam Sandler type of movie. I loved it. It was so ridiculous, and it was fun. Putting it in there. Now, I know you're going to hate me for this one, but Star Wars The Force Awakens makes it into my honorable mentions. I liked it. The Hobbit trilogy, again, it was not Lord of the Rings, but it was still fun.
Yeah, fair enough.
Kingsman Secret Service. I thought the first one was phenomenal. Hunger Games Catching Fire. First one was okay. I never saw Mockingjay because I didn't like the book of Mockingjay.
Oh, okay.
It really bothered me. I don't know why, but so I never saw it, but I have it to watch, but I loved Catching Fire. Some of these other ones you've already mentioned, like Oblivion and some of those. Cowboys and Aliens. You remember that? Yeah, Kick-Ass 1 and 2. Cowboys and Aliens.
I never saw it.
Oh my gosh. That's awesome. Yeah, go see that one. It is so good. It's kind of a nice cast in there too, but it's fun, dude. It's fun sci-fi. Let's see. Inception, of course. Now, I had to throw Pitch Perfect 1 and 2 in there because our friend Fred and his wife was like, you need to watch this. And I'm like, I'm never watching this movie. And Sarah's like, come on, let's watch this. I'm like, fine, I'll watch this stupid movie. We watched Pitch Perfect with them, and I was like, that was actually really good.
Oh, cool. What's it about?
Being a music, well, it's about an a cappella group.
Oh, okay.
So being a musician, I had a lot of appreciation for it as well, but it's cheesy, but it was a fun movie, and I loved 1 and 2. 3 was, they jumped the shark with 3. They skipped.
They skip jumped.
They skip jumped, yeah. 1 and 2 was great. And then Tron Legacy, I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
And then 2 last here, I know this is a long list. I'm so sorry. But I mean, like I said, I already pared down so many of this, but I had to mention these.
Just nerd out, man.
The Secret Life of Walter Mitty was such a great movie. Surprised us when we watched it. Very powerful, very inspirational. And the final one, which really surprised me because I am not a horror genre person at all. I don't like horror, but I love suspense. This movie to me was mostly suspense with a little bit of horror, but it's called Get Out. And it is so good. Highly recommended for those of you who like that genre. So check it out. Spider-Pan sent in his, and I know we're waiting. So send in all of yours as well. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, I should have shared mine. Now's your chance. Send them in to us.
We'll do it. Yep.
He's got 4 here. Avengers Infinity War, Rogue One, Toy Story 3, and Tangled are his 4 choices.
Nice.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate those.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, man. So we have so much more to talk about, but I think we're going to save it for next week because that was a long list, but it'll be a shorter list next week. But send in your favorite movies from 2000 to 2009 for our next week's recording if you would like to share them. And I've got some stuff on our honk list that I want to talk about, but like I said, I'll save that for next week. But otherwise, my goodness, how much fun is this going through all those movies? And like you said, you were kind of like, oh, I forgot about that movie.
Yeah.
Or like
totally.
You haven't seen Get Out, or you haven't seen, what was the other one you mentioned? Like, I haven't seen that yet. I'm like, dude, you got to go see that. Oh, Cowboys and Aliens, man.
Yes.
Yeah. See, it's stuff like that you go, oh, I got to check that out.
You get on my DVD list on Netflix.
Yeah. And I want to check out now because you mentioned these 2 that I hadn't seen yet was Centurion and Europa Report. Cause I'd seen that and I'd never seen either one of those, but we have a lot for next week already that like, oh my gosh.
I like it.
It's going to be fun. And
this time constriction thing is awesome because then we just have half our next week already planned out.
Exactly. That's the way it is. And we're still doing this all unedited. And so far, the response has been favorable and positive. So, if you kind of go, oh my gosh, man, you guys are just sucking now. Let us know.
We aren't sucking.
No, we're rocking it, man. We are rocking it.
Deep Thoughts with Captain Influence.
If I were stranded on a desert island and I could pick one person to live there with, I'd pick Jackie Chan so he could teach me how to defend myself against the sharks in the lagoon. Of course, that's at my age now. If I had picked someone when I was in my 20s, I'd have picked Jennifer Lawrence, and to hell with the sharks.
Well, you know what the music means. Right after we were just
head off of her.
Right after we were just talking about Passengers, man. So like that was so apropos. Didn't even
Hunger
plan
Games.
that. Yeah, Hunger Games. Oh my gosh, yeah. There was a girl that worked at Starbucks that looked just like her many years ago, and I thought it was her, And my friend knew her. It was crazy. But anyway.
thought it was her.
Thanks for joining us. Real Brian Show signing
The Real
off.
Brian Show is a production of 514 Media at 514mediaempire.com.